Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids and we're back for some more Gwent, and today we're playing more of the Banished seasonal event, which is an alternate game mode in which after getting our starting hand, our entire deck gets banished. Today we're revisiting what used to be my secret weapon in this event, but now it's stronger than ever. So let's go give it a look. So once upon a time, Scoia'Tael Harmony was my secret weapon against the Nilfgaard meta in this Banished seasonal event. And that was long before Harmony got a ton of strong new cards and buffs to existing cards, so what used to be a very niche counter meta deck is now way stronger across the board. So of course, we have the big Harmony cards like Dena and Quarixis, plus our leader ability to give us even more value from Harmony cards, and the bronze Harmony engines to go along with those things like Dryad Fledgling, Dryad Ranger, which maybe if you get two of them, might even give you some tome removal punish with poison, Half-Elf Hunter for more Harmony, Antherion for even more Harmony, in fact this is the one you want to start off with, and some even bigger Harmony engines with stuff like Percival and Weeping Willow, and Chameleon as a way to finish off your rounds when you're using all those Harmony cards. But then we deviate a little bit from your standard Harmony decks with things like Villentretenmerth, Glorious Hunt, and Serpent Trap, all as ways to counter some of the huge point slams that you see in this event, most notably Tibor. Then finally we have a sneaky resilience strat with our Wagon, where if we're on blue coin we can use our stratagem to get a weak bronze card on the board, then play a Wagon next to it, give it resilience, and still have 7 points on the board, forcing our opponent to either try to out-tempo us, or remove the Wagon's armor to get rid of its resilience. Either way, that means on blue coin, dropping the Wagon and passing puts your opponent in a really tough situation. So let's go see it in action. Alright, so going up against Nilfgaard here, and we'll go first. Okay, and especially Imposter Nilfgaard, we have to assume that they're Tibor and Vilgefort spammers and what have you, so we should have Glorious Hunt on hand. That is a way to deal with those guys, possibly Brehen, although that's much less reliable. So that's not bad. 2 Chameleons is probably overkill, so let's dump one of them. I do really like having the Wagon on blue coin, as I will demonstrate how we can put that to use in just a minute. But other than that, I mean, Hawker support is also useful as a throwaway, but that's kind of what we're going to use the Wagon for momentarily. Serpent Trap is also potentially a way to get rid of Tibor. I think we can drop the Chariot, because that is a Harmony triggering card, and we don't have that many Harmony cards here. Saskia, also a Harmony triggering card, although at least a bigger one at that. So here's what we're going to do. We're probably only going to play one card in round one, but we're going to make that card. Well, first, we're going to do this with Saber. Then we're going to use the Wagon, and because we have bronze cards here, we can remove one of them and get the resilience on the Wagon. So take your pick, whichever row you want to go for here. So not only do we have 7 points on the board, which means they're going to have to at least play one card to catch us. If they do not remove the resilience on that Wagon, then they're going to be in a lot of trouble. And that Half-Elf Hunter will not be enough in terms of tempo, nor will it remove the resilience. So they are in a really tough spot here. So, you know, against almost anyone else, I would say that's a pretty convincing round one there. I mean, we are going to pass here. But of course, you know, they're Nilfgaard. They're likely Tibor spammers, so can't really say anything for certain. So now they need to play one more card to catch us. So they're a card down, but now we don't need to play anything in the next round if they dry pass because we have that resilience. Problem is, they might just drop Tibor here and try to push 2-0. I would not put that past them. But if they do, well, they are nothing if not predictable. We have several ways we can destroy them. We can either drop Serpent Trap and immediately flip it, because that is their lowest card, or we could go for Glorious Hunt, also works. Glorious Hunt has some risk of backfiring on us. Not in this round, but in round 3 if we were to save it. And we don't want this to be our only card left in round 3, so let's use this. I think is probably preferable. And now we're in a much stronger position, because they almost had a way to circumvent our amazing round 1, but then we had a counter for them. And, you know, they're going to continue to spam all the terrible cards that make this event horrible. But, again, it is nothing if not predictable, at the very least. So the one downside of Wagon is it's not an engine, it's not a Harmony card, so in a long round it doesn't help us too much. So, I mean, we could drop Serpent Trap, immediately flip it, get rid of Shilard, and maybe that was just them trying to weaken one of our cards and give them a sort of carryover. But if not, we would like to set ourselves up for some kind of engine stuff here. I mean, this is not amazing value on Serpent Trap, so we might want to wait on that, but yeah, we'll do it, because it is sufficient. And hard to know if they were going to have any special cards they were going to play at all, so I think it's safer to just flip it there and guarantee you get the value, and guarantee that we, once again, are out-tempoing them. Okay. What did they steal? They gave us a snack. Oh, that is kind of devious. That is kind of devious. I will give them that. But what did they steal then? They really take a neophyte? Because I'm pretty sure they did. I don't think we had any other card in our graveyard, so I think that card stinks for them. But it was all just a way to get a snack, which, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to have a great way to answer that. So maybe, oh, I'll tell you what. This wasn't an engine, although the neophyte, if we flip into that, will give us a way to activate Harmony by getting an elf out here. Okay, so this might come out now. Yep. So it might even pass here, just because at that point we're on even cards, and that's pretty decent return for them, since they were in a pretty rough spot for basically the entirety of this round. Okay, so now it might have even been better to have gone Percival, because now we don't really want to infuse the Wagon, because we might be about to transform this, and also would take damage from receiving the status anyway. And Percival, yes, we could put the infusion on him, then he's Harmony 3, so he's going to get huge, and becomes a very obvious removal target for something like Rot Tosser, which I am not a huge fan of. Maybe we even try to save Percival. In that case, let's transform, which in the short term is negative points, but then we go with something like a Fledgling. We'll infuse the Fledgling. And now next turn we can play that Neophyte. Okay, Letho Kingslayer, they're gonna... Ah! Okay. Oh no, it's another snack. Okay, that's interesting strategy. Okay, can we do anything about that cow carcass? We could put Saskia there, and we don't really care much about her, so that's not bad. Oh, also we don't have another elf. So, well, except that we will. Okay, here's what we do. It's Saskia. Yes, maybe that was not the best idea to flip that. But we can go Elven Deadeye here. And now, yeah, I mean, I guess that still doesn't make a huge difference. Okay, they'll pass. And that's mostly just because, once again, it means they're getting by on even here, which is about as good as it was realistically going to get for them. So we should still be able to, and they potentially get some carryover on the snack. So, I mean, if we could destroy this, that'd be amazing, but I don't really think that we can here. We're gonna have to figure out what the most disposable card is. That drops you down to a 4. And if we were to go melee row with that, we can get you a little lower. I mean, anything is gonna be enough here, so it doesn't really matter if we're hitting something that has the armor. But, I mean, Chameleon in a short round is not great, but we will still have our leader ability. We will have Harmony 2 card here. Brehen might actually be the best option. Obviously, he doesn't really do anything here, but he might not do anything at all in the next round either, which is why I think that makes the most sense, because he might have been a brick, or at least Harmony trigger and not much else. So, all right, we've at least fended off Tibor. And out of curiosity, did this round go long enough that the snack is not going to come out? I think that is true. And now they're probably rage quitting, because we thoroughly outplayed them in round 1. They almost got bailed out by Tibor, but then we were prepared to deal with that. The card they stole with Vilgefortz was the Scoia'Tael Neophyte, which is really weak. And so they rage quit. Somehow, I'm not the least bit surprised. All right, so going up against Scoia'Tael here, and we'll go first. Okay, so we have Dana, that's great. We have several more Harmony cards here. In fact, even Percival, which is pretty huge. Ocvist, really solid as a finisher if we have a long round. Hawker Support, as a throwaway card, is not bad. Oh, also Villentretenmerth, good for tall removal here. We have a lot of tall removal, which is mostly for Tibor counters. Might not be as concerned about that here against this opponent, Scoia'Tael. Just kind of looking for a turn 1 play here. Could be Hawker Support, but I'm looking for something better. Okay, I guess we'll... Oh, that's also anti-Tibor. I really wanted to see a Wagon, because that is amazing. That gives us carryover and at least half decent tempo, and it's pretty much a lose-lose situation for our opponent. So, didn't get that, but we could play a Harmony card and then use this to trigger the Harmony there. Obviously, it doesn't work on the Half-Elf Hunter, which is why I mulliganed one of the other ones that we had. But otherwise, I mean, we could also go Dana just for the hand buff, which is pretty effective right now. That might be worth doing. I mean, obviously, she's an amazing card. Carryover is pretty nice, especially in this event. All right. Make a very strong case for saving her for round 3. I imagine this means that our opponent is not going to want to play at all in this round, which is probably fine. We would love for this round to go a little bit longer, ideally, because longer we have Denna on the board, more effective that hand buff becomes. They're going to use Scenario. Wow. Okay, so both committing big time. But their play takes a little longer, I think, to pay off. They do need to take at least one more turn to catch us. They probably assumed that we were going to play a really long round as soon as we drop Denna. But if we pass here, that means we get at least 3 turns total, if not more, with Denna giving us huge hand buff. And, you know, she's actually more effective at the beginning of the round than she is at the end of the round, because that means all these cards are getting boosted, the one exception being the Half-Elf Hunter, which I almost considered not flipping our stratagem so that even you would get the hand buff. But here you see, sure, they'll play one more card, they will win the round, but we get a fair bit of carryover from that. So they did play one more card than us, and not surprisingly, that means they will dry pass here. We need to be a little bit careful, to be honest, with Villentretenmerth scares me a bit, because with that hand buff, sure, it excludes the dragons that we control, and we have a few big dragons here. But if we get a little too carried away, and we get... Didn't we have Percival? Did we have Percival in hand? We do. If he gets boosted a lot, which he might, then Villentretenmerth might activate on ourselves, which would be unfortunate. I mean, we could just delay Villentretenmerth and just not activate him at all by not giving him enough time for that timer 3 to activate. Or we could play Percival right now, but that doesn't feel great. I think we go Half-Elf Hunter. Yes, it's our only elf, but it's also the only card that did not get hand buffed there. Yeah, we also do have Glorious Hunt, which is a little bit harder to avoid the backfiring there. Again, it's another card that is mostly designed for anti-Nilfgaard purposes, because this entire event is colored by the effect that Nilfgaard and Tibor in particular has, which is why I would argue this event should never exist again. Hawker Smuggler. Okay, so we should technically go leader ability early, in all likelihood, although that is... As long as we're playing a Harmony card every turn, then technically there isn't a huge difference between playing Denna early or playing Denna once we've gotten down all of our Harmony cards, so we could delay a little bit longer. The reason for that being, Denna is 7 base power, so she would obviously be the Glorious Hunt target right now. Yes, Antherion right now would be, so it's not as if that's any better, it's just that it's more likely that our opponent plays at least a 6 base power card to pass this than it is that our opponent plays an 8. So let's stall the leader ability as long as we can for the time being. I guess we'll use this on the Fledgling, although, again, that's another card. Oh, also, I totally forgot we have Percival, who is absolutely a card we should be playing early, besides the whole part where we have concerns about him getting so big that Villentretenmerth will destroy him. But this is where we go Glorious Hunt, because it will destroy the Treant Boar. And we don't need to worry about destroying one of our cards, which was a serious concern until just then. Actually, I mean, this hand buff they're giving themselves could eventually add up to the point where Villentretenmerth would not activate on ourselves. We will, I think, still want to use Percival here, but as I was saying, he is usually our best card, or our best pure Harmony card. But there is that risk when you have Villentretenmerth in hand. So now we'll do this, because we do technically have one more Harmony card in hand, but now that we have the Harmony 2 Percival on the board, we do benefit a lot from playing this. Okay, Dolph on a Sentry. So now is a round when we need to figure out, is it worth us taking a risk on Villentretenmerth activating in this match, or do we play him late enough that that's not going to happen? And it's looking a lot like we're going to want to wait long enough that he doesn't activate, because this timer... I mean, yes, we suspect they have a big card that they're saving in their hand from all this hand buff, but even then, now this Fledgling has double Harmony. This is going to continue to get a little bit bigger. This might end up being the biggest card on the board. Percival's going to be around the same number as well. And Weeping Willow is not going to be small either. So I think we kind of need to hold back on Villentretenmerth. And technically, because it's a neutral, it doesn't activate Harmony, whereas Saskia, who's also a dragon, but is a Scoia'Tael card, does activate Harmony. This, it's going to say, terrifies me a little bit for Igni, although it does move Weeping Willow out of the melee rail, which is a bit unfortunate. But we'll go Saskia now, and I think for her, I mean, we don't have any elves, we're not going to get any elves, so we could do that. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter too much what we're going for here. We have a preference when it comes to our special card we get. It's 6 points. If we go the Waylay with the Elf, slightly less than that is 5. If we go the Dwarf with Tempering, and we have reason to Purify? Not really. So I don't think the Young Dryad makes much sense either. So let's go the Deadeye, I think. Technically, we also did not give ourselves enough time for Ocvist. We actually should have played Ocvist on that turn. Would have meant one less round of Harmony on all these people, which you could actually... I didn't have time to do the math, but might have actually been... Might have been better to still do this. This will not have time for the timer 3 to go off. So you are also a neutral dragon rather than a Scoia'Tael dragon. And we'll do this. So we don't have enough damage to remove anyone, unfortunately. I mean, there is a chance that this Cataclysm does just barely get rid of one of you. It's pretty darn unlikely and definitely not going to happen on that Cat Witcher. So since you have the Sentry, which synergizes with Malena, let's see if we can pick off Malena here. All right, it's Force Whisperer. They'll remove Percival. Unfortunate, but we have a large enough lead here that it might still be okay. Okay, so now, and it looks like delaying Villentretenmerth was the right move here because, by all accounts, we were going to have the largest unit on the board even after they just removed one of our biggest cards. So let's use Villentretenmerth here. For all we know, they might have a Brehen, but, I mean, Villentretenmerth, although 9 power is still not a terrible card to lose here. And still without a Sentry, I can't imagine, even with a few leader ability charges remaining, that this will be enough for them to catch us. So even after that damage, and those boosts, we'll hold on for the win. Alright, so going up against monsters here. And we'll go first. Okay, so if they're monsters force of nature, which admittedly I don't see much of in this event, that would seem to suggest, at least with their leader ability, they have a decent chance of having a high base power card, so Glorious Hunt should be a reasonably safe option. Villentretenmerth, we have some flexibility with the timing, so if we're mindful of that, we can choose whether or not we want to have that activate or not. You can see who has the biggest unit at the time. Otherwise, we have a lot of stuff here that doesn't really interact much with Harmony with the 2 dragons and the Glorious Hunt. Let's dump Dwarven Chariot. And, I mean, I don't love all the Dryads. Ooh, okay. Think we can still make this work, although we are rather light on Harmony here. But what I do like is that on Blue Coin, we can use our stratagem here. Get a couple of the Neophytes and then use the Wagon to gain resilience. We have 7 points on the board, which is not a ton, and especially with potentially relics on monsters, they may be able to catch us in one turn, but even if they do, we still have that carryover on the Wagon, so they're in kind of a lose-lose situation here. Okay, so they will go for getting rid of the resilience, but in doing so, they've not caught us. So they would have to go card down if they want to catch us here, which, okay, I think we can accept that, or we could play further if we really wanted to. But I think we might just settle for this here, because we want to have a long rounds for all of our Harmony stuff to work. I mean, that being said, we don't have that much Harmony going on, truth be told. We'll go She Who Knows, which I'm sure they wanted to get the carryover on. But doesn't look like they'll have that chance. They probably needed to do that, tempo-wise. So that's saying something. So they've already had to, I don't want to say waste, but yes, use one of their key cards the way they didn't really want to have to use it. Oh, which is Sabbath? Possibly. We do not have many strong cards in our graveyard right now. So that's kind of scary how we're going to get a 5-point Wagon, they're going to get a 10-point She Who Knows and maybe get resilience on that. So that's where something like Glorious Hunt or Villentretenmerth could be really useful. Could be really useful. In fact, we could potentially even drop Villentretenmerth right now. And that timer might kick in right around when we need it to. So, you know, I think that is potentially the way to go about doing it. Because otherwise, that is a very clever play that I think they're trying to do here. Dimeridium Shackles, okay. That is a workaround, and they are probably still planning to do the Witch's Sabbath. I mean, it depends if they have Witch's Sabbath, but the fact that they dropped that cave troll there, I imagine they just need to get a few more points in that melee row so that they'll have the Sabbath active when they do this, so that She Who Knows immediately can carry over into the next round. And also might make her Brehen a bull, depending on how many cards we have when that does end up happening. So potentially 2 ways to still get rid of her. Then in that case, I mean, we'd like to set ourselves up for a longer round here. And if we are going to get some cards from our graveyard back out, I mean, it's unlikely Antherion would end up factoring into that equation, but we'll see. We can use you here, or better still is actually the Fledgling, because we don't want to infuse the Villentretenmerth, which is what we'd likely end up having to do if we were to play Antherion next, because you have Lock, and that will cancel out the infusion. Okay, Yaga can consume Fledgling on their next turn, which is actually kind of terrifying. Oh boy, I did not see that coming. I mean, yes, it is a relic, but still not one that I thought we would see. And that might explain the cave troll. Maybe they aren't about to Witch's Sabbath, but still. Okay, yikes. That means Antherion could be next on the list of targets. Half-Elf Hunter might be slightly preferable, because though that is also a 5 provision cost card at least, it's slightly lower base power, so it's not quite as effective for them to consume with Yaga, but I am officially terrified. Ooh, Ocvist. May they were Ocvist was the answer there. I'm only just realizing, yes, we did a way of shutting you down. It technically wasn't guaranteed, but it was pretty likely to work. And we really should have done it there. It did not occur to me until right after our turn ended. Mushy Truffle, what do they have? It's Lesser Witch is their bonded unit. And that it all is pointing toward them trying to set up Witch's Sabbath. Again, it's just a matter of do they have it or not. So they're going to get 15 points, which is not bad at all. And in that 15 points, they're also getting carryover. So that's pretty nasty. So now, I mean, we might need to Ocvist. It's nowhere near as effective as it was before. But I think we are just kind of desperate for getting all the tempo from using you. Okay, offering. Oh, that's obviously not a great card to use in this event. A couple turns, Ocvist will go off, but we still need to play, because obviously they won round 1, and there's still a lingering threat of She Who Knows coming back out from their graveyard, which is the most intimidating part. That Yaga is going to be able to consume on their next turn. Right now, it would have to be a 3-point half-elf hunter, which is not great. We go Saskia. That way we avoid giving you a stronger Antherion. This is the best card for us to play. It was the best card for us to play for a while now, but we're kind of being forced into going a different route because of Yaga. So I think we do this. We don't have a great target for the Waylay. I think it might actually be you. We prefer here. And now the round has gone long enough that Brehen will be able to destroy something this row. I hope that it's She Who Knows who's in the rightmost spot. I'm actually not sure if it's going to be her or if it's going to be the Lesser Witch. Yeah, I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to make this a full-length round, commit every single card, and just have She Who Knows in round 3. And then worst case scenario, they think, is they have 10 points on the board and we need to get 10 points in one turn, which they don't think we can do. But that may not be an issue if we can Glorious Hunt or Brehen to remove. And now we can actually use Antherion, which is huge because it's a card we wanted to play for a while now. Chameleon also would be good to play right about now if we had more Harmony on the board. In fact, we have 0 Harmony cards after Yaga consumed. So, yeah, actually, you don't matter much. Leader ability, of course, is something we'd also like to use at some point if necessary, but that's also a card we want to save in case we find ourselves in need of getting a whole bunch of tempo in a short round 3. All right, Drowner, they're going to move that. It's not great value, but it is enough for them to at least force us to play further. Oh, I'll tell you what the devious thing would be. They already have Sabbath, so they don't need to play She Who Knows in the melee row. Now we are at least getting 3 cards out. It would be 1, 2, and 3. For there, 1 and 2. Okay. That's not great, except that if they do it in the range row, which they can now do, Brehen is no longer able to remove. So I think what we do here is we go Antherion onto probably Saskia. It is Chameleon. It's not a huge play here. It would be bigger if we used leader ability, but I'm trying to save that just in case we do need it. So now it's a slight net positive if we replay Chameleon on subsequent turns, but not great. This is their last card, though. So what are they going to do here? Because basically they need to catch us or get She Who Knows on the board with the Witch's Sabbath and convince themselves that that 10 points of carryover is enough. No, they're just going to Spores us and assume that they can... Oh, right. Leader ability as well. Okay. No, they're just going for a super reckless 2-0. And an ill-advised one at that, because that also works. Removing the Woodland Spirit with our Glorious Hunt here. So that gets us close. And then we know at this point that they can't do anything in round 3. So as long as we still have Brehen to play, then 4 points is sufficient. So we can leader ability here, and that is going to be necessary, because even if we'd just gone Chameleon and Chameleon alone, that would not have been quite enough. Now it definitely is, though. Okay. So that means they have 0 points in round 3. We play Brehen, we win. So they have no cards, they can't do anything. No Witch's Sabbath to get She Who Knows out here, so no problem. Alright, so going up against Nilfgaard here. And we'll go first. Okay, so we're looking for 1 tempo card to play here in round 1, and probably just that, so we can hopefully keep a long round 2 or round 3. I think, especially since we have the Chameleon as a finisher for harmony purposes, we don't need the Dwarven Chariot all that much, so let's dump you. And possibly the Hawker support for that same reason, although you are, in some ways, a good throwaway. Glorious Hunt is also necessary against Nilfgaard because we know that they have Tibor in their deck. Villentretenmerth is also useful for that same purpose, although there's a higher chance that he potentially backfires on us. Okay, I was looking, so we had 2 of the same type of harmony cards. So I think we also have 2 Antherions, although that's a better card. We might go Half-Elf Hunter. Do we have sources of other elves? I mean, we do here. So actually, that's the reason not to go Half-Elf Hunter. Because the reason why we use the stratagem is because it can be a way to proc extra harmony. So let's go Fledgling. We do have 2 of those. So let's do that. We'll do this still. Technically, you know, if you actually anticipate it's going to be a long round 1, or you want to go for a long round 1 for whatever reason, then you delay that stratagem, and it can actually be a way to get a whole bunch of harmony triggers. Cutthroats. We'll destroy one of them, but we're still in the lead here. So we could pass. They'll presumably find a way to catch us, but they'll have to go a card down to do it. And, well, the reason why that still is pretty intriguing is because it probably sets us up for longer rounds later on in the match, which is what we prefer, as harmony certainly benefits from long rounds. So let's do that. It's another Cutthroat. Interesting. So they'll win round 1. And you don't usually see Cutthroats in the usual Nilfgaard decks in this event, so I'm not sure if we should read into that at all. This is where, you know, having the Hawker support could have been a little useful to give ourselves some carryover value, but otherwise, we're just looking for, you know, what is our most disposable card here, and it might still be this Fledgling. We don't have any other sources of Dryads. Yes, we do have 2 Beast Harmony cards with double Antherion, but because it also has that infusion for double Harmony, it's probably still worth holding on to it. Yeah, and Half-Elf Hunter has the extra body that spawns in, making it 1 more point. So I think that's what we go for here, is the Dryad. Alright, and our best Harmony engine is Percival, so we'd like to use him. Then we'd like to go Antherions, technically. Technically, you could actually make a case for double Antherion first, because second time we play the Antherion, it's not going to get the Harmony procced. So either way does work. Let's do this, though. Okay, Shoop, stay off. Okay, this is... Oh. Well, that's questionable. Right, we did see them use 2 Cutthroats in round 1, right? So it's a little bit odd. Does seem like a bit of a strange deck they're using. With leader ability, they'll get Villentretenmerth, which we can and probably should destroy with Glorious Hunt right now. Because, I mean, it might prevent them from playing something bigger. Because Percival's not that big yet, but probably best to just play it safe here. That did, however, get rid of our best Tibor counter. We do still have a way to potentially get rid of Tibor with our own Villentretenmerth. So we'll see. But the fact that they were so willing to play Villentretenmerth in the first place suggests that they probably didn't have Tibor, or if they did, then they're willing to delay him a fair bit. Now we want to go with the Antherions, though. So those are our next most efficient Harmony cards. Okay, Harmony is also a bit out of nowhere. So this is where we will not proc any Harmonies, because those guys are all same type of unit. Okay, Rune Mage could do any of a number of things. Monsters Runestone. Barghest. Ooh, okay. Interesting. Very interesting. Because we have 2 turns to decide if we want to play Villentretenmerth, either this turn or the next turn, and his timer will have time to activate. If we wait longer, he's not going to activate. And the question is basically, is Percival or whoever else we double proc with Harmony, or even Denna, going to be the biggest card, or is it going to be that Barghest right there? And these guys are going to get boosted enough over the course of 3 turns that I think they would still be the biggest units, or at least there's a pretty strong chance that'll be the case. So I don't think we want to activate Villentretenmerth. So let's go leader ability here, because we're going to also want to use Chameleon on this turn, so we have enough time to replay that the maximum number of times. Technically, I forgot about the infusion, which we wanted to do first. So that's my bad. We'll at least get it in before we do Chameleon. Okay, Treason is very well played, fortunate, lucky, depending on how you want to look at the way they've been playing this deck thus far. But a Weeping Willow will also be pretty valuable for us, so we want to do that. We also want to do Half-Elf Hunter too, and then we're going to finish with Villentretenmerth. So we're not trying to activate him. Okay, Iris Shade. Not a huge factor. Then Half-Elf Hunter. Maybe just make it so we don't have as big units right next to each other like that. Granted, we know they don't have any more Treasons. So the Weeping Willow, technically, if we wait one more turn, we can still get that order ability slightly bigger. You will not proc Harmony because you're neutral, but we still don't yet control a dragon. So that does, I believe, still count for Weeping Willow here. So, large enough lead that they shouldn't have any way to make this one up. Certainly not with Inspirational Ballad as their last card. So there's a look at a Scoia'Tael Harmony deck for the new Banished seasonal event. If you liked the video, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and leave a comment down below. Let me know which other cards, archetypes, and factions we should experiment with next. And take a look at our Banished playlist to see previous decks that we've used in this event as well. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.